Alright, so we got a new project here. In Warhammer 5th edition, there are special rules for minefields. And they call for a marker to mark the minefields, and the minefield extends out 7.5 inches in every direction. So what we have here is a little patch of terrain with a couple of landmines poking up. They're just made out of some Night Goblin shields and painted. And then naturally a little red sign that says mine with a red sign with a white skull and crossbones. So I've already made this one. It's all painted up and everything. See, we've got a little bit of static grass you can see kind of poking out. And so we're going to go over how we make a new one. And this one's already assembled. What I did is I made a little sign out of a little scrap of plastic for the sign, and then a little bit from some Warhammer piece. I think it was from a axle of an orc truck or something, but it's really not important. I mean, it could be really any piece of plastic holding up the sign. And then we've spackled it up, and for this one, since I didn't have any more mines to have sitting undetonated like this one here, I've sort of made a little plaster crater. It's kind of hard to see. Oh, there we go. We got a shadow. So we got a little crater there where some unlucky sap has stepped on it and has been blown to bits. And so, I mean, this is a pretty simple bit of plaster work and bitsing, and so we'll paint this up, and that'll be that.
I don't see anything wrong with being a wrestling coach or a boxing coach.
All right, so we're gonna work on our minefield marker here. So we got it right here. What we're gonna do is get a little bit of snakebite leather. Snakebites right here. Got my painting palette, and so what we're gonna want to do first is water down our snakebite leather a little, just a teensy bit, because we're gonna want to cover the entire plastered up area. Give it a nice base color, and then the second thing we're going to want to do is give the metallic parts of this piece of terrain a good base color of like bolt gun metal or something like that. So this is pretty easy stuff. You just give it a little bit of dip into the water and skaloosh. And it doesn't matter that much if we get it on the metal bits, because we're just going to paint over that in a second. But we want to make sure we get all the white bits, even like the deep dark crevices of the crater. Alright, we're back. We're going to do our standard retinue of dry brushing here. So we're going to get our big old fatty 3/8 Princeton flat brush wet with some Commando khaki. And I know a lot of times when I show painting, I just do kind of a time lapse. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to show you it for reals. So we get some paint on our brush, and I have a little paper napkin here from like a restaurant or something. We're just going to wipe off as much paint as we can. And one way I like to test if enough paint has been brushed off is if when I run it against my hand, I see it catch on the details of my fingerprint, but not the cracks, which it's doing right now. And then we're just going to hit the terrain with that. And it'll basically do the same thing. It'll just catch the more outstanding parts. Let me turn this down a little bit. And then we'll dry brush some more, and looks to be about ready. Train some more. Now the problem with just using one color like this, like Commando khaki, is it doesn't bring the detail out quite enough to tell. So you want to hit the area as much as you can. Do a couple, like 2 or 3 runs on it. And then do bleached bone. Because bleached bone really fucking brings up the detail. Here we go. On the third pass, things are starting to come out a little more. There we go. And so we're going to let that brush rinse out. Alright, so now we're going to do our dry brushing with bleached bone. And this is far from our last step. You know, typically we do our 3-color dry brush. But for this crater, we're going to make it a little more interesting. We want this crater to look like it's exploded recently. So we're going to color it in black and sort of dry brush around it so it looks like it's exploded. But first we got to do the bleach bone detailing, of course, or not detailing, but dry brushing. See, there we go. There we go. You can see, hopefully you can see from there the colors coming out a little more. What we're going to do after this is paint the sign bolt gun metal, except for the face, of course, and paint the crater so it's a little more scorched. Alright, so I got a little carried away when the camera was turned off, and I painted our sign bolt gun metal. I painted the front red. Didn't really miss that much interesting stuff, to be honest. What we're going to do now is we're going to make our crater look like it actually exploded recently. So what we do is we have a nice and frayed brush that I left soaking in water too long some number of years ago. So it has officially become a dry brushing brush permanently, because it's all fucked up and can't, resolve a detail anymore. So we're going to dip it in some black paint and go through our dry brushing ritual and dry it off and make sure the stuff's dry enough. And we're just going to dry brush the edge of the crater, and it does not have nearly enough paint on it. That's a little better. Same thing though, running it over our paper napkin. And hit the edge of the crater. There we go, that's looking a little better. So we get kind of a scorched edge here. Might have to hit this again with some more black paint. Oh, come on. Seems you've run out of dire straits. We're going to have to hit some more. I'm on kind of a dire straits kick right now. Alright. Okay, so we've got the alright, cool. So we've got this kind of scorched edge around the crater now, and so what we're going to do is we're just going to paint the inside of it black. Let the sun go down. Now we got some paint on our tip. We're not going to dry brush it this time. We're just going to fill in the inside of the crater. And now it looks like it's totally blown up arbitrarily. We'll let this dry, and then we'll paint a little skull and crossbones and the word mine on the sign, and we'll be just about done with this. Alright, so I finished painting the details on the sign. It says mine now. It has a little skull and crossbones. On the back, you might not be able to see, but there's a little patch of static grass to give it sort of a deserty look, but not that deserty, We got our other one finished here, and hopefully I'll be using these in our next upcoming Warhammer game with the Minefield rules in 5th edition. And next time on Grimdark, we'll begin the assembly of my Space Marine Venerable Dreadnought. Very exciting.